Hi. Everybody wants to achieve something, but the fact is that everybody can't. So one of the questions that I very often receive from my clients is, how can I become successful? Now there are a lot of books which are written about successful, how to become successful, what are the steps and strategies that you have to take in order to become successful. Out of all those steps, let me just take 4 steps, 4 simple, very basic principles in order to be successful. You can add your ingredients to that, but let me stick on to the first or basic 4 principles. The very first one is to know where you're going. That's the very first one. You may call it as a goal or a vision, whatever it is. There's a difference between goal and vision. However, I'm not going to differentiate both in this particular context. So you need to know where you're going. It doesn't matter what you call it. So that's the very first one. It has to be very clear. If you don't know where you are going, then you won't be going. Number 1, you won't have the motivation to go. Number 3, you don't have a route map or a route map or a flight plan to go. So that's number 1. Number 2, it's not enough just to know where you're going. The most important thing is you have to go. If you don't go, then your goal doesn't make any sense. You've got to take action. There are 3 types of people when it comes to action. The very first person is the one who would say that, no, it's not possible for me. He would have millions of excuses. It could be health case, it could be the weather, it could be his family, it could be his education, qualification, knowledge, experience, so forth. Everything that is there, he would bring all those things and keep it right in front of you and say, it is absolutely impossible for me to go. Number 1. The second type of people would use the word try, meaning they're not comfortable, number 1, and they don't confirm. However, they would say, let me give it a try, I'll go. The third category of people are those who take step as soon as they hear from somebody else. Whenever they see an opportunity, they grab the opportunity. They don't think much, but they are ready to start. So these are the 3 categories of people when it comes to taking action. Now let's move on to the third one. So the first one, you need to know your goal, clarity. Number 2, you should be an action taker, meaning you should have the guts to take the very first step. The third qualification or the condition in order to be successful is that you got to finish. Now let's take the first person and the second person. There are people who would say that, yes, I will do it and I'll finish it. And there's a second category of people. They would jump from one thing, they started the first one, and even before they finish, they go for the second, and then third and the fourth. Why? Because they lose their enthusiasm to reach where they want to reach. So the question is, what should you do? The answer is very simple. You got to have something that motivates them, something they are interested in, something they are involved in. If yes, then they may continue. Number 2, if there is a possibility to break the journey into small pieces or chunks and ask them, rather than working on the project for 1 month or 2 months or maybe a year or a couple of years, rather than that, break it down in such a way that they have an enthusiasm, because you have identified as a leader or as a coach, as a mother, as a parent, you have identified that this particular person has got enthusiasm, but that does not last long. So you've got to keep him motivated all the time. And to keep him motivated all the time on his project, you break it down to small pieces. It could be a weekly challenge. So every week he has got 52 challenges for a year. Every time he or she gets through the challenge, you got to motivate them, give them a gift, celebrate that. So what happens automatically? You are boosting up that person, you are empowering that person, and he would remain till the end. So that is one of the strategies. Now, you might be wondering, who would be so happy for small gift? We are not kids, we are adults. But do understand one thing, it doesn't matter whether you're a kid or an adult, everybody likes to be celebrated and recognized. So do this with your team members or do it with yourself and you'll find the difference. The last point is you got to be the best and you got to be the fastest. What does that mean? Now, if I take the first 3 steps, you know exactly where you want to go. Number 1, number 2, you started, and number 3, you finished. But what if that takes long? Now, right now, it's a COVID period, and you would like to create a video on COVID. And you did start, you know exactly that you want to make a video, which is going to be, say, 10 minutes long. That was very clear. You started on your project. That's also fine. Number 3, you also ended up the project, meaning you got a very good video produced. But imagine that it took around about 1.5 years to produce that video. The question is, that video is no more useful because by then maybe we are out of COVID-19. So therefore, the speed is very important. If you know exactly where you want to go, if you take the step, you got to finish on time. Finish on time. Therefore, when you write down your finishing point or a finishing lane, rather than a deadline, call it as a finishing point or a finishing lane. You got to be very clear about by when you have to finish and make it as soon as possible. As soon as possible. That's when you compete with others and you become the best in the industry that you are. Once again, know where you want to go. Go. Make sure that you are not distracted with different tasks. Focus on one single task. I call it the power of one. Number 3, ensure you finish. And number 4, make sure that you finish well in advance rather than extending it. Hope you enjoyed this 4 points. My name is Farookh Sensei from FarookSensei.com.